Hey gang, Redbeard here. Today I'm going to show you how to do spawn points. Spawn points are great for most games, if not all games, but they allow you to jump from one end of the map to another end of the map, and they're pretty cool to use. Also really easy to set up. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip the camera around and show you exactly what we're looking at. So open your backpack by opening your watch, go to backpack, and then use on the pen. There you go. Now open your pen to palette, and then on the gadgets tab, lower right other gadgets, you'll see respawn point. Take one of those, put it on the floor. Next thing we're going to do is go to props, dynamic props, and get a button. We're going to put that over here. Take your wire tool, and then you're going to take on press and connect it to the green arrow. Send spawn player here now. Next thing you want to do is hit configure on your pen, configure on the button, and then in your palette you have send player as signal output. Bam. Now we can test this by moving this to somewhere like there, and then clicking the button. It worked. Pretty easy. So that's a basic spawn point. Let's move it. Let's put it somewhere we can reach it. And freeze. Okay, let's talk about spawn points for teams. Open your palette again. So go to gadgets, game chips, and take out game rules. We're gonna go to gadgets, other gadgets, take out a spawn point. Let's do 4 of them. Blue team, red team. Okay. So this is, in this case, let's say you have 2 teams, blue, red. What you can do is you can configure any one of these spawn points and choose the team. Right? Team 2 will be red, and team 1 is blue. So now when your players respawn, they'll just show up in one of those 2. Now let's configure on the game chip. Now there's 20 pages here. You need to really play in this. There's some cool stuff in here. But let's go all the way down here. I believe it's page 17. There we go, page 17. So these are your 3 spawn point controllers. Let's just double check. Yep, these are your 3 spawn point controllers. Now what you can do is you can have them go to visibility, cycle, team, or random. Let's talk about those real quick. So cycle, prefer the least recently used spawn point. So if everybody's going to this one, it'll pick that one. It's a pretty good way to just toggle between them. Now team will actually spawn somebody near teammates but away from opponents. So visibility randomly selects from these 2 spawn points that an opponent can't see. So if I'm on the blue team and there's walls and stuff in front of me, if I can't see that one, it'll spawn you to there. Random, well, pick some random one. I prefer cycle, but random's pretty good, but play with those and you'll find one that works great for you. Okay, here's your top tip for today. The spawn main hand equipment type and spawn offhand equipment type, these are great. If you put a weapon in your room, oh, there it goes. We go to props, weapons. Let's just take this, my favorite one. So that takes ink because you put it in the room, right? Our ink level is at 29.76. If I delete this, it goes down. So if you put paint pistol on main hand, then when they respawn to that point, they'll get a paint pistol in their hand. And the cool thing is these 2 settings don't count towards your ink. So it's a good way to save ink. Your offhand, you can choose something like a shield. So now they'll spawn with a pistol and a shield. But all of the weapons are in here. There's 8 pages. So go through there and play with those. Alright, the last tip for this. If you hit configure on any one of these, say this one, there's use at end of game. So we're going to do that for that one, and we'll do it for this one as well. So So what that means is when the game ends, everybody from those teams will respawn back to those points. One last tip. If you hit configure on your spawn point, let's make it grabbable. And that means you can pick it up. So here's the cool thing about these. Regardless of which hand you hold it in, it puts these pins on the right hand side, right? So one way to use that is if you want your players facing a very specific direction when they spawn in, say you want them facing this button, hold it in your hand and then just drop it. And they'll respawn with this on their right hand side every single time. So you want them to face this way with the doors, drop it. Now they'll respawn and be looking right at the door. Alright gang, that's spawn points for you. First thing we learned was to take a button and send the player ID to the spawn point. Next thing I showed you was how to use the Game Maker chip, and that sets up all the spawn points for multiple types of games. I also told you about how you can spawn a weapon in the hands of the player, and that saves you on ink. Next thing we looked at was the end game setting to send the players to those chips for the end of the game. And the last thing I showed you with that is to face forward just by dropping the spawn point in the direction you want it to go. Alright, so remember, subscribe to us so you can learn some more stuff. Keep on creating some cool things.